Well, good evening once again, and welcome to All Stories Matter. I am your host, Marvinetta Woodley Penn, and All Stories Matter is a part of my business, a business that I recently started after working with Global Girls, a youth performing arts organization, for over 25 years. Had a wonderful time with Global Girls, and now I've started working with young people here in Kalamazoo with my new business, which is finding joy on life's journey. I am so excited about that because I get a chance to help people reimagine their stories. I get a chance to help people discover a definition for love, a common definition for love and action. If you ask 100 people, what is love? You're going to get 100 different definitions of what love is. And we kind of, in my business, we're looking for a definition that moves beyond an emotion or a feeling, a passing fancy. We want something that is going to stick, that is going to change lives, that's going to help people. I am so happy to have a guest who I think embodies love in action. And I am going to take a stab. He has told me his name several times prior to opening this show. And I want to welcome today's guest, David Fumiambo. I know that's not right. Fumiambo.
Fumiambo, yeah.
Fumiambo Gakodi.
Yeah,
Fumiambo Gakodi.
that's good.
Oh, that's close.
I mean, it's good. I mean, there's a lot of people that don't make an effort, so I think that's you're moving to the right place.
You know, I love dialects. I love language.
Yeah.
I think I have an ear for them. I can sing in Portuguese. I can speak a little
Oh, I love
French.
Portuguese.
And you like
Yeah.
Portuguese? Yeah, I don't speak Portuguese, but I can sing in Portuguese.
I feel like my friend's like Brazilian. I know just like a little bit.
Yeah, yeah.
Remember, he was like teaching me a little bit. He'd be like to the bone or the scoopy or like
Okay.
Those kind of things.
Yeah, no obrigado.
Obrigado.
Aham.
Mhm.
Esse aqui, este sambinho feito numa nota só, outras notas vão entrar, mas a base é uma só. Because those are words to a song that I would sing when I was singing with the jazz band. Oh my God, I love that so much. I miss it so much. You know, I lived in Chicago, and that's where I really had my music career. And there were so many places when I was singing where you could sing in Chicago. So many of those places have dried up.
Yeah.
There's very few venues where there's live entertainment now, but still more than there are in Kalamazoo.
Yeah, because we used to have, I forgot the name of it now, but it was on the mall, and it used to be live band and food and all that, and then COVID hit and closed.
Yeah.
Mhm.
COVID, ugh. It just upended our whole society in so many ways that I think we will be recovering from for years to come. Yeah, but
so.
today I want to hear David's story. And I'd like you to start off by giving me the correct pronunciation of your name.
Okay, I'll do my best. Even I struggle. No, I couldn't say my middle name for a very long time.
Really?
As a kid, I was like, what's my middle name? It's like my dad would be like, oh, it's Fumiambo. I'm like, Fumiambo. And the middle part.
Fumimbo. I love the way that
Yeah.
rolls off the tongue, Fumimbo. Did I say it right?
Yeah, it's like it
Fumimbo.
means. I'll say the name,
Okay.
full name, and I'll
Okay.
explain what the middle name means.
Great, thank you.
My name is David Fumiambo Gakodi. Fumiambo means something like chief of the village, and my dad always went by like Fumu, which is something like chief.
Yeah.
So it's like I guess it's like a name of like authority or whatever.
Yeah.
And that was my dad's first name, and he was like, I guess, first son.
Fumimbo was
Yeah.
your dad's first name?
Yeah,
Chief of the village.
chief of the village. He was the middle son. I don't know. I'm like, well, you skipped one, but okay.
How
We'll
cool
take it.
is that? So your dad was the middle of three sons?
He was the middle of 5 kids.
Oh.
It went boy, girl. So it was his older brother,
Yes.
his sister.
Now, what was his name and what did that mean?
Names. Well, we always call his older brother Uncle Tim, but he like changed his name or something like that. Then it goes Obe, Fumu, then it's Sele, and then after Sele is Ita, but I always called him Uncle Moses.
Oh my God, I
Yeah.
love those names. When I was in London,
Yeah.
well, really, I was in Milan. I was doing a trip through Europe.
Mhm.
I was crazy at the time. No, I wasn't crazy because I had a wonderful time. I went to 18 different cities in Europe
Mhm.
on a Eurail pass, and I met a lady in Milan, and her name was Fumi. She's from Nigeria, but she was living in London.
Okay.
So what do you think Fumi means? Do you have any idea?
Oh, the distance. I mean, it could mean anything.
It could mean
honestly.
anything, yeah.
I couldn't tell you because they speak Yoruba and like other things, and
Yes.
I think Fumu would have to be like, in Congo they would be like Lingala or Kipende or.
Those are the languages?
Those are it's like 2 of like hundreds or whatever, but I guess how the languages work is that it's structured by like sort of importance and then like
Yeah.
reverence. So like for example, on top, if you're like a business person or in government, or like you're a serious person, you're speaking French. So French is
parlez-vous français?
Yeah.
Okay.
Je parle français. un peu.
Ooh. Oui, je parle un peu aussi.
It's French is at the top. It's Belgian French in particular,
Oh,
and
Belgian French?
because Belgium was the one that colonized the DRC,
Yes.
the Democratic Republic of Congo. Then under that, you would have like Lingala, which is when we had, his name was Mobutu, who was like, I guess we would say he was an authoritarian.
Yes.
When my dad was growing up, he kind of established, his people were speaking Lingala, I believe, and so therefore kind of made that, he replaced kind of French a little bit in like normal day life.
Because he was the person in charge. He got to set the tone for the language that everybody was
language
speaking.
that he knew.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And then there were like tribal languages, and so
Okay.
it's difficult because with so many languages, you have to choose a language. I think French can be easy, or Lingala could be easy like that because it's just.
Lingala?
It's called Lingala.
Lingala. Okay.
It's if you hear it, it almost sounds a little bit like French, but it has a lot of loan words.
Oh.
I've heard it has no like grammatical genders, which was interesting. But
Oh, interesting.
yeah, my mom is always like calling me she or calling her he. And it's a lot of fun. Seeing that,
My
like,
gosh, it seems like so much fun. So let's get back to get some basics.
Okay.
Your family is from the Democratic Republic of Congo.
Yeah.
And you were telling me there's another name, and what is it? There are 2 other names. The
Yeah.
DRC, you could refer to it
You
as
could
the
call it
DRC. And
well, before, when it was under Mobutu, it was called Zaire.
Zaire,
So some people know it as Zaire.
yeah, I've heard of Zaire. Yeah.
And then before that, it was the Belgian Free State or something like that.
Belgian Free State. How
Which-
dare they? How
Yeah.
dare you? Ooh.
It's like, it's very ironic. I mean, free. Who's free, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, those are the names I know.
Okay.
Yeah.
But you gave me another one. It started with a K, I thought.
Oh, Kinshasa.
Kinshasa.
That's the capital.
Okay.
It used to be. It actually had a different name before. Kinshasa used to be known as Leopoldville, because
King Leopold.
That's
Oh
King
my
Leopold.
God, he was so brutal. I read his story. It
Yeah.
just sends chills through my body every time I hear
Mhm.
the name. How just brutal, just sadistic he was
Yeah.
with the rubber trade.
Mm-hmm. He would cut off limbs.
Yeah, shrink heads,
Yeah.
shrink heads. And King Leopold's Ghost was the book that I read
Mm-hmm.
about him, and I just
It's terrible.
man's inhumanity to man is something I will never understand.
Yeah.
How people, and I think it all goes back to the way they were raised. If you were raised with love, a definition of love that goes beyond things and material gain, but the connection between people and that desire to help people become their absolute best, where you don't criticize them if
Right.
they're weak, or if you see some kind of weakness. In fact, you don't even see things as a weakness if you're really operating
Right.
with love. And when you don't get that as a child, I think you just get this twisted notion of what you should aspire to, the qualities that you should aspire to.
I always think like I don't think people like to do bad things, but I think some things make it easier. I think what part of it's just that he's a king, and I'm sure a lot of his time is spent in Belgium, and he's ruling from afar, and he's giving orders from whatever. And I don't know if he cares necessarily like what happens to these people. He needs to fill in quotas. The rubber, what is this? Maybe cars are being developed. They need rubber.
Tires, yeah.
And so he's away. There's a distance.
That is a good perspective. When you're not up close and personal to things, that you do get that distance. But if your heart is in the right place, that people are people.
But distance, I think I've heard like distance makes the heart grow fonder. I think sometimes it makes
That's with love.
That's with love.
That's based on love.
That's if
Distance, yeah.
But I think
absence makes the heart grow fonder.
Absence, yeah.
Yeah, distance. Ugh.
Distance maybe I think it's a bit of a pejorative in a way.
Yeah.
But he ruled very harshly. I think I read this book by Trevor Noah. I think it was called Born a Crime.
Yeah.
I think one of his chapters he was talking about how everyone has their most hated person. I think in the West, we largely, think of figures like, for example, like Hitler. This is the worst person of all time. And for other people, Hitler wasn't a good guy. But for them, they have other people who rank higher because of what they've done personally to them.
Personally, yes.
I think about there's a guy named Rhodes in South Africa, and he helps to colonize South Africa, and I don't want to say something incorrect, but he helps to colonize.
No, it's okay. We can always go to AI later and get the facts.
Please.
But this is just a conversation. We're not dealing with absolutism right now.
Yeah.
No, that's fine.
For sure. And I think the South Africans would say Rhodes, and if you're in Congo, Hitler was a bad guy, but Leopold II colonized your people and massacred your people personally, and that's a difficult thing to swallow. I think all these years later.
It's relative.
Yeah.
It really is. And I want to get back to your story because we can spend a lot of time on dishing out hate.
Oh, yeah.
And we don't really want to do that because I really want to try and look at people as individuals, learn their stories, and that's why I have the show, All Stories Matter, because there's always a story behind what you see on the surface of a person. So, tell me about David. How did you get? I know that you were born. Where were you born?
Where was I born? Yeah, we can start at the beginning.
Yes.
So,
yes.
I was born in Boise, Idaho, which is
not The Democratic Republic of
Not the
Congo.
Democratic.
I know.
It's
I'm
it's not a
being
normal
facetious.
place to be born. It seems. I always tell people, like, they have black people over there. I'm like, apparently, I was
In
there.
Boise, Idaho.
Yep, there was me and a few people I knew who were like family members, and like, I think that was about it from the black people.
No.
Yeah. But I didn't really think about it too hard.
Uh-huh.
So I was born there, and then when I was young, well, actually, let me go back. My dad was working for HP at the time.
Uh-huh. Hewlett Packard.
Hewlett Packard.
Yeah.
And he was an engineer, a chemical engineer, and he was helping them develop, I think, like printers.
Oh, nice.
I remember seeing his face on a printer because that was like, was it early 2000s? That's when they're like putting their engineers on their packaging. Like, look at these people in like white coats. Yeah.
Oh my gosh! And your dad was one of them.
He was one of those people in the white coats. I mean, someone could like look it up and be like, oh, I see it. We look pretty similar. I've been told.
Great! Yeah.
But it was like him in like a white coat. I think maybe he's wearing like goggles. And then before that, he was before I was born, he was in Rochester, New York, working at Xerox. But that was after Xerox, blew up and everyone made their money.
Yeah.
So he was like, it was like a big company, but it was like, I remember he was saying like, yeah, they were telling me like if I showed up a couple years earlier, I'd be like rich.
Oh my gosh! Okay.
Because that's when those printers were doing so well.
Yes, yes. So was your dad born in America?
No, my dad was born. He was born in Congo.
Okay.
It was a very interesting story how he got here.
Yeah.
So how it happened was, it kind of starts in a sad place, which is unfortunate because we're talking about love. So
no, it's okay.
my grandparents get divorced, which is interesting because I think they would both be Catholics. So I don't think that's a very
Catholic-y thing to do.
Yeah. I know. He was.
Yeah, go ahead.
I know it's a crazy thing because he also was training to be like a priest as well at some point in his life. He went over to the Vatican. He studied.
Now this is your grandfather.
This is my grandfather on my dad's side.
Yes, yes.
And he had done that, and then he felt as if he needed to work in education. So that's what he did. And at some point,
he worked in education as a school teacher.
He was like a professor.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's actually how we met my other grandfather. That's a part of why my parents met. Is that he taught my other grandfather, and things happen like that.
All right, so I got a daughter.
Yeah.
Cool.
Essentially like that, and it starts with my grandparents getting divorced. The reasons are unknown to me, but things just weren't working out.
But
as they do.
That is a great story in and of itself. Not a lot of people think about just everyday life in an African country.
Right.
I know because I've traveled to different countries on the continent, and so I've gotten to know people up close and personal and see some of those stories.
Yeah.
But just to hear this aspect of your life story is eye-opening for not only me, but my audience, because they're like, oh my gosh, I thought that people over there were just starving or fighting. No, they're living everyday lives. But for people of that generation to be able to get a divorce, and your grandmother feels like, hey, I can still live, I can still do what I got. So what did your grandmother do? What kind of work
she was a nurse. She was a nurse in Congo.
Okay.
And what had happened was, after they get divorced, basically the woman that goes on to really raise my dad was pretty young. He was maybe, let's say like 9, 10, 11, somewhere around then. I gotta introduce names or else this is gonna be really step-grandma maybe.
Okay, that's cool.
So,
but I would love to hear their names.
We love to hear
names. I
names.
know that there's some good names. They're not English names, are they?
Well, My grandpa went up. He changed his name. His name was Mikitu,
Okay.
and he changed his
Mikitu.
name to Gakodi. I'm just gonna call him,
Okay.
Gakodi
Okay.
Senior, right? So you have Gakodi, and then my grandma who got divorced. Her name is Rose.
Okay.
So then Gakodi Rose, and then my other grandma is
Uh-huh.
named Sarah Hewitt.
Okay.
But I always called her. I called in Lingala. You would call your grandparents Coco, and everyone's Coco. If they're all your grandparents are Coco. So Coco,
Coco.
and then their name.
Oh,
It's not
okay.
confusing. So like be like Coco Gakodi or Coco Rose or Coco Sarah.
I love it.
Mhm.
Oh my gosh.
And then
okay.
even then, like someone older than you, it's hey Coco, I need blah 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 blah.
Coco Anina.
No,
Okay.
I'm just like
Okay, Coco.
It's not a day.
But and anyone older than you
Anyone.
would be Coco.
Yeah.
Okay. So I would be
it's
Coco.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. And then same with like uncles and aunties and all that. It's just everyone of a certain age is your auntie, uncle. And
Indeed,
then
when I'm in Tanzania,
Uh.
all the people who know me, auntie, I'm like, no. But I understand. I came to understand that it was a sign of respect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or I've heard Tantin too, which I don't know where that comes from. But like, no, it's supposed to be like respect for your elders
Yeah.
generally.
I love it.
So Coco Rose, who comes from America, she is on her mom's side she's Jewish, I believe Russian Jew, and on her dad's side she's like African American. And there was a whole thing where at some point, as I understand from my dad, he was a communist. He was in the party, and he mentioned something about
Your dad was?
No, my
or Rose's dad.
Coco Sarah.
was. Coco Sarah's dad.
Her dad
was
in
okay.
like a sort of like Afro communist group.
Yeah.
And at some point he becomes an informant for the U.S., which was interesting because I didn't think that's how the story was going to end. But he does that. He gets targeted. Something about the Russians. We're not too much fan of that. And after he dies, I don't need to go into the whole like America's not necessarily how America has done wrong the black people that served for them, and so they didn't pay out the money that they should have, and it was a whole case. I think she was on the news or the newspaper about it.
Oh my God.
Which I have to go like find that.
Coco Sarah had been through so
Exactly.
much. So she was mixed race,
Mhm.
and on her father's side, he was an informant.
Yeah.
And then he died. He died in the line of duty?
I think I don't have all the details, but I think he got caught up somewhere.
Yes.
Someone found out that he was working with the U.S. and of course
Mm-hmm.
didn't like that.
Took him out.
Took him out. Then what happened was she was sent to a boarding school, I guess in Italy, to study because, mom was worried. Her husband just got
Right.
assassinated. And so she studies there. Weirdly enough, they were both, I don't know if it's the same time, but like they both went to Italy at some point. Because he was, I guess the Vatican, but they're both in that same region, which is weird because they didn't meet each other. Anyway, she's born in New York, born and raised in Queens, New York. Goes from New York to Congo, Kinshasa. At this point, she's really interested in like education. She's learned the language French, I believe Lingala.
And Lingala is a combination of French and Belgian.
No, Lingala is more.
Oh.
It's its own language.
Okay.
It has a lot of loan words from French. There's some loan words from like Portuguese. I've heard
Okay.
loan words from Spanish.
I gotta
maybe like
I gotta
Swahili.
hear this.
But like
Oh,
it's, I'm
yeah.
sure it's like on Google somewhere.
Oh yeah. I can go to YouTube.
Yeah, it's a very nice language.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely a different. They definitely have like a different African accent than like maybe like Nigeria or something like that.
Do you speak it?
I don't speak Lingala, sadly.
Okay, no, it's okay,
Yeah.
because I was really looking forward to hearing
I
a few
know,
words.
I know.
It's okay.
Blame my parents. I don't know. They had the opportunity, but they like.
Blame your parents.
We'll do
eh?
it eventually.
Okay, yeah.
You
okay.
can learn online.
Okay.
Look it up on YouTube. That's my dad's favorite line. Look it up on YouTube.
Oh my goodness.
Um,
Cool. So you get Coco Rose, and
Mhm.
then
So my grandpa, he's looking to remarry, and he meets this smart American woman,
Uh-huh.
and so they have a relationship essentially. They're both in education. They're both very interested in that and seeing what they could do for the country.
yeah.
Unfortunately, right now, Mobutu, well, what's his name? Patrick Lumumba? President. The prime minister, it's already passed that the prime minister was assassinated by Belgium and the CIA, essentially. And Mobutu is in charge. And so he's working under Mobutu, and he starts to say things that are not flattering to the dictator, essentially. And, long story short, he gets poisoned. He's in like one of the hospitals. He's not doing well, and it's
Your grandfather?
yeah. My dad believes that he was poisoned. That's how he died. And so, in order to protect my dad, because of course, they're coming for the senior, they're gonna come for the junior.
Yeah.
They go. My Coco Sarah takes my dad and his younger sibling, and they go to America. So I think that's around when he says 12, 13-ish. He had to repeat a grade, so it's like the timeline's a little. But this is around, they go back to New York initially. This is around the mid-'80s. Reagan's in office. He told me about how when he first got to New York, which is the first place he was in,
Yeah.
they lived, I believe the neighborhood it's above Washington Heights. It's on like that little tall part of Manhattan,
Mm-hmm.
all the way up there. I forgot the name. I can't think of it. But he didn't know any English. He was just like, I don't know anyone. And there was one French kid who knew French. My dad knew French pretty well at this point.
Yes.
You learn it in school, so he
Yeah.
could talk to this French kid, and that was like his first friend. And so that was what happened. And then they moved to Virginia, and they kind of move around, and they end up in Buffalo, New York. And Dad goes to UB, and after he goes to UB, he gets his degree.
So your dad went from not speaking English,
Yeah.
coming to a whole new country.
Yes.
You've got to learn some more details, because this is
Oh,
a
we can
great
we
book.
can go into details.
This is a
Yeah.
great book, but then I got to get to your
We gotta
story.
get to my That's the.
But this
That's the
is
whole
this
thing.
is the genesis of your
Yeah.
story,
He
because
keeps
that
saying he's
takes
gonna write a book or
so
something.
much. And your dad is still alive.
Oh yeah, he's fine. He's chilling. Yeah.
I need to do another segment with your
Yeah.
whole family here. Oh my gosh, that
Mhm.
is so interesting.
You might be able to get the whole family. but
Oh, yes.
Everyone's fighting. Everyone fights.
Sorry?
In my family, it's always someone's fighting with somebody about something. So.
They would come here.
They'll
There
come
would be peace.
individually.
There would be peace
We
on
make
the set.
peace. Yeah.
Yes. So your dad he goes from
Uh-huh.
not speaking a word of English
Yeah.
and communicating in French with his best friend
And
to learning
and Coco Sarah.
and Coco Sarah.
Yeah.
What a wonderful woman. What a strong
She
woman
was
she
great.
had to be.
Mhm.
Because I just wonder about the immigration process. Did she just say, "This is my son," and he can come. I'm an American citizen. He's
I
my
understand.
son. So
Immigration is complex,
yeah,
so I'm no expert, but I
Yeah.
believe because, for one, she was married to my
Yes.
grandfather,
yes,
and so therefore my dad was her stepchild.
yes, yeah,
And also he was a kid,
yeah.
and I think it was a different time in America.
Yeah.
It wasn't. It's not like it is now.
Mhm.
I think it was a little easier.
Oh,
back then,
definitely.
for sure.
Definitely. That was
Um,
before
Yeah.
the towers came down and you
yeah.
had to take off your shoes and all
Everything.
of that. So definitely a different time. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh boy, but what a
Oh, no.
harrowing story for
No, she
him.
was-
And then he goes from not speaking any English again to becoming a star student.
Star
I mean,
student.
because I'm sure that
Mhm.
your parents,
Mm.
their expectation for their children,
Yeah.
your grandparents' expectation for the children was, oh, you will succeed. That is not even an option.
Well, yes. I mean, that was a part of it.
I know something just happened with one of the lights, and I'm just wondering if we should be concerned about that, because this light went out. But you know what? We're not going to worry about it.
Yeah.
It's such a good show.
Yeah.
It must go on.
It must go on. I think a part of it's you just get a little boost if you're an immigrant.
Yeah. Oh
There's
my
that immigrant
gosh.
boost.
Yeah.
Um,
The immigrant boost. I
immigrant
have to
boost.
write that down. The
Um,
immigrant
that's-
boost.
That's what I call it. Rosetta Stone was really helpful. He's like, it's Rosetta Stone. And also, Coco Sarah was big into education. So
Yeah.
she was, you have to know how to do this. You have to know how to do this. We got to put you in a good school. We have to get you up there. Make sure you're doing well. So she wouldn't have had him struggle too much.
Yes, but no complaining, just
Mm.
results.
Just results.
I always tell the children that I'm working with,
Okay.
nobody wants to hear your excuses, so
Mhm.
don't give me an excuse.
All right.
No excuses, just results.
Mhm.
Stop it. We coddle these children way too much in America these days.
Mhm.
But it's not about me. Your story is so
Fair
interesting. So,
I mean, in some ways it's also it's timing and context and
yeah.
his. I think it was a different time in America. There was that one. I remember that one. This one advertisement where people are holding hands and
I like
cross-
to teach the world
Yeah.
to sing in
Yeah.
perfect harmony.
Mhm. I mean,
That was a Coca-Cola
Yeah.
commercial. Wasn't that beautiful?
I've seen a little bit. I was like, whoa. I
Yeah,
wanna
we
be
could
in
go
that
back to
America.
that. I want to be in that America too.
That America was fun.
It was.
And so I think it was that little boost that got him up.
Yeah.
I do not have the same amount of drive, but I do my best.
Yes.
I do my best. And so Rosetta Stone, it was just the fact that he was in America, so he had to learn it.
Mhm.
And so he still has a little bit of accent, but it's not, everyone understands him for the most part. I don't think there's anyone that's I don't know what your dad said. No.
Yeah. So what does he
Speaks-
do now?
He, right now he owns his own business. He's an entrepreneur, a logistics business, so he, essentially it just means he drives a truck. So he, they'll make a contract, he'll go and pick up something and take it somewhere else.
Yeah.
But he's worked for a couple different places. He was working
Okay.
did a little internship at Dell. Remember this ice cream company in Washington, D.C. He was working at? I think maybe Edie it's called. They did drumsticks and stuff like that.
Yeah. Oh gosh, I
Um,
love that ice
I
cream.
had too much ice cream that summer. That was the summer I had too much ice cream,
Oh boy.
for sure.
Yeah.
He was working at Eden.
Okay.
That's what brought him up to Michigan.
Hmm.
And then eventually brings me up.
So your father moves from
Mm,
New York
yeah.
to Boise, Idaho?
Yeah, because what happened was, HP had Hewlett Packard had like spotted him and had tracked him down, I guess, and they're like, "We want you.
We want you.
We need you, and we need you in Boise." And
Okay.
my dad was, I think he got an offer at Xerox to stay,
Uh-huh.
so it was like really a toss up. At that point, he'd already met my mom, and
Oh, how did they meet? I love meeting.
that story is even. My dad doesn't like to go. My parents at this point are divorced, so he doesn't like to go into
Okay.
it too much. But essentially, he had gone back to Africa a couple times, and one of those times he had met with my grandfather,
Uh-huh.
and I think my grandfather introduced him to my mom. My mom's a beautiful woman, and then one thing happens, they get married.
Okay. And he brings a woman from the DR,
Yeah.
Democratic Republic of Congo, back to America. How does she adjust?
My mom,
Yeah.
my mom was really fast to.
Okay.
Yeah, we spent a lot of time in Georgia. I think if you like just.
Georgia? Wait a minute.
Oh,
We're in
we
Boise, Idaho. Now
Yeah.
we're in Georgia?
Yeah, there's a spoiler alert. We moved from Boise to Georgia when I'm about 5-ish.
Mm-hmm.
Just, I guess, jobs try up or something to effect.
Yeah.
Or just wants a little change of environment.
Yeah.
And my mom, she sounds like she's from Atlanta a little bit. There's a little bit of African accent, a little bit of like the flow is like a lot like how someone from the South would speak.
No. She has
She has a little bit of both. It's
accent
yeah,
from the DRC.
yeah.
And then she has a bit of a southern
A
accent.
little southern, little like, but like more like a city, an urban southern accent.
Urban southern,
Which is
DRC accent.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I gotta meet her.
Yeah, because I always like to say like Atlanta is like a different place than the rest
Yes.
of the South.
Okay.
It's a lot. The accent isn't what you think it is.
Okay.
Even I had a little bit of an accent.
It's not a drawl. Not a lot of drawl.
There's a drawl on some
Okay.
people. Like I had a little bit of a drawl too.
Okay.
Like whenever to this day, whenever I count by fives,
Uh-huh.
there's still a little bit of
Okay.
the twang. Like
Let's
5,
hear it.
10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40. Like there's still a little bit
No,
of that.
I don't hear anything.
Okay.
I don't
That's
hear any
fine.
drawl.
Well, I'm glad because I got rid of it. I was trying to. 'Cause
Cool. I can't
didn't
wait to
want-
meet your mom.
Oh, she's interesting. She still lives down south right now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But we moved down there
Yes.
in Georgia. We move
Mhm.
around. Like, I think every year, at a certain point, we're moving around.
And how did you adapt to schools?
I just did my best. I think a lot of it was just I had to detach a little bit from people. I had to kind of be like, man, these people are great, but I'm gonna move in a year. Because like when I had my hopes up, like, man, maybe we'll stay. Maybe we'll stay right here.
Oh.
And then we'll move, and it was a difficult time for me.
Yeah.
Sure.
Because you were how old again?
This
When
is
you
like-
were in Georgia.
This was like about from 5 to 13-ish.
Oh.
So it's like,
Getting those childhood friends.
yeah.
Or maybe
that
you
was
just
tough.
have childhood friends everywhere.
Well, I wish. I didn't
Oh.
keep in touch with a lot of
Okay,
them.
okay.
A few of them I still talk to from time to time.
Good.
Mhm. But around then, my parents get divorced,
Yeah.
and that was a very confusing time because I wasn't really sure what was going on.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think the thing about Africans sometimes is that they're very they're not always as apparent with what's going on. Maybe they
Mhm.
want to protect you a little bit.
Mhm.
So they kind of explain that like, hey, we're not together, but I was like, I don't know what that means.
Yes.
Yeah. So very difficult time. I think around 3rd grade is when we stopped moving. I finally get to a school,
Uh-huh.
start to make friends. It was a great time. And then unfortunately, a lot of that moving caught up to me, and so the law, state laws in Georgia, how it works. I don't know how it works in Michigan, but essentially, third grade is when they give you something called the CRCT.
Yes.
I don't know if you heard about that, but
Well, that's when you take the test.
the test,
The
yeah,
test that determines where you are and
if you can go
what
on.
your trajectory will be.
Yeah.
Yes.
So how it worked was that you could fail all the tests besides the reading test. And unfortunately, I had a difficult time reading, and so I failed that test. I had to essentially redo the grade. There was like a summer classes, but how do I put this? I don't know. Still to this day, I don't know why my mom never took me to those classes. You kind of like, I'm just, learn it on the computer, and hopefully when you take the test again, you do better. The first time I took it, it was literally a coin flip because I had failed by one question. So I had one more question right, I would have passed. And the second time, it was a lot worse because I hadn't been practicing. So I had to restart. I had to do it the whole grade over again. I was really, really mad. Actually, the first day of when I was supposed to repeat, I thought I didn't know if I passed or not. So I just went into fourth grade, thinking I passed, and then they called me out and they're like, "Well," went to the principal's office, and she was like, "Sadly, you didn't pass, and you have to retake."
Oh my gosh.
I know. It was a sad day. I had
Of
to hold it
course it was. And there should be exceptions to every rule.
in. I think so. I was like, that's pretty close. One question.
One question. They could have asked you that question on the
Ask
spot.
me a second. It's also that I didn't complete the test as well.
Yeah.
So they take it based off of. So if I answered more questions, I was a very slow reader. If I just answered more questions, I would have passed too. But I was a very slow reader. Good comprehension.
Yes.
I understood what I was reading.
Yes.
But the mechanical reading part was just difficult and slow for me. And they only give you so much time. And, that was the worry. Because I think on the practice test, I was already doing pretty bad. And so I felt really bad when I saw my old teacher for the first time, and I think I was crying. I was like, I'm sorry that I didn't, I kind of failed.
Oh no.
Really bad.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
And they did not consider your circumstances, that you had been moving around from school
Nope.
to school.
No.
So
They
I used to
not
be a
care.
school teacher and I quit because
Yeah.
I just felt the whole system of public education is not fair.
Yeah.
And the way they teach children now, it's just
Yeah.
so not fair. And I see it was not fair then, it was not fair years ago
Right.
when I was teaching, and it's not fair now.
Yep. No, it wasn't fair, and I don't know. It's like the way they were teaching it just didn't get to me, or
Yes.
I was moving a lot, so I was taught it 4 or 5 different ways, and then
Different
They're really
ways,
gonna
different
figure it
people,
out, yeah.
different systems, different ways,
Mhm.
different methodologies.
right.
Of course.
Yeah, and
Okay.
I don't even know why. I think about it to this day. I don't even know why it was so difficult for me then. Even now, it's sometimes I'm a little slower to read a whole thing. So sometimes I skip words, or I guess I autocorrect certain
Mhm,
words, or I
mhm.
just see the beginning and I just say the end, but it's oh wait, that's not what I thought it was.
You might have a little bit of dyslexia.
Maybe.
You might. And then you just might need to work with a coach.
But then again, I never really had anyone that was even that curious about it, so
Yes.
that kind of stumped me for a little bit. I mean, we went through the whole 3rd grade. The second time around was pretty fun. We watched a lot of Schoolhouse Rock with my teacher. first teacher was Couch, second teacher was Edie. But that was a heavy burden to carry.
How did your father feel about it?
He was mad. He was mad because he wasn't there, of course, because parents were divorced and he couldn't be there as much.
Right.
My mom was very, very angry too about it, which was ironic because a part of the reason I failed was like she didn't take me to the summer classes. So
Yes.
it's a difficult time.
Indeed.
Yeah. So, I think it was interesting in some ways because there were certain opportunities that wouldn't have happened if I had passed. People I wouldn't have met. And so in that way, I'm just like, well, not that the system didn't fail me, but that at some point I got to do something about it.
Good for you.
Yeah.
Good for you.
Yeah. So a lot of soldiering on through school, but a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I went through like band and
What
like
do you
middle
play?
School. Well, I always liked percussion.
Okay.
And first day, 6th grade. This is at Decula Middle School.
Still down in Georgia.
Still down in Georgia, Decula,
Okay.
Georgia.
Okay.
I lived. It's like Lawrenceville.
Okay.
Lawrenceville, Decula area. So that's in Gwinnett County, which is, I believe, the most diverse county in Georgia. So you would see all types of people everywhere, all the people. So I got a little taste.
Cool.
I went from white people in Idaho
Yeah.
to everybody, the world.
Oh,
Yeah.
so what was that experience like?
It was interesting. You would see Korean stores or Indian
Yeah,
stores or
yeah.
Arab stores. You go into a Chinese supermarket. In the back, there are Mexican people working, and you would try to argue with them about the price of the fish. So, they would have all types of foods for everybody. So it was. I had I don't like to say it was a skewed idea because like that was my life for a long time. So it's like, oh yeah, this is America.
This
what
is
it
America. The first
Yeah.
America was all white, and we're the only black family. And then the second America was, everybody.
Yeah. Well, I did. I spent a lot of time visiting my grandma when I was very young. So we would go to New York a lot. So I did.
Okay,
I
wait
did
a
see
minute.
other people.
Wait a minute. Okay.
Yeah.
Boise,
Boise,
Georgia, New York.
We would visit.
Boise, New York,
And-
Georgia, New York. Just
So when I was younger,
Uh-huh.
my grandma, she had died when I was pretty young.
uh-huh.
I'm trying to think about the timeline, but it's hard to remember. By the time I was in Georgia, we weren't visiting New York anymore.
Okay.
But whenever I had summers with my dad, so we would go up there, we would visit, we would take the trains, we would take the subways. I remember one day I just woke up and I'm like, oh, are we in Times Square? What's this? I'm like, yeah. I remember there was a really late night. He was like, David, it's like, that's the Statue of Liberty. I'm like, I can barely see it, though, okay.
Oh,
So,
nice.
yeah, we were driving around and that stuff. So I'd visit even after she died. But
Yeah.
it was Boise, where it's like mostly white.
Yeah.
It was one of the most diverse cities in the country. And then when I was a little older, one of the most diverse counties in Georgia. So
What a
my class
rich
was,
childhood.
Yeah, no, my class.
Oh, yeah.
It was like the brochure for a college.
Uh-huh.
For like a college, the college brochure. Where it's like
Yeah.
all the
these
people, they're all
different
friends.
groups. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
But it was a lot of black people that I was around and talking to. Everyone was black. The poor people were black. The rich people were black. So that was it was good to grow up there because you don't get caught up in like thinking that like being a black person in this country needs to be a certain type of way.
Yeah. That's how I grew up as a kid because, I grew up in an all-black community because of discrimination, for
Right.
one. But I got to live next to lawyers, and the
Right.
teacher was
Yeah.
up the street, and the
Mhm.
dentist was around the corner.
Yeah.
Well, not in the same, they weren't next door to me
Yeah.
because they had better homes, but it was still in the black
Little
community, and I could
yeah.
see them up close and personal. Yeah, so that's cool. So we got, it was normal.
It was normal.
Yeah.
And, around middle, like the 7th grade, kind of skipping around a little
That's
bit.
okay.
Oh, that's fine.
It's so interesting.
around-
It's okay.
Around 7th grade, I'm like, I really want to live with my dad, and it's a whole court thing that is too long and complicated, too much legalese to go too in depth in, but
Yes.
the custody kind of switches, so
Oh.
I get to, from middle 7th grade onward, I move with my dad.
So
And-
wait, are you the only child?
No. Oh, I should explain this. That's
No, it's
good.
okay.
So,
Stories
growing
don't
up-
have to go like this. They don't have to
Yeah.
go in any kind of order. We jump back and forth. I just need to know.
You're right.
And I know
So,
people out there want to know.
They want to know.
Yeah.
The people need to know.
Inquiring minds want to know.
So I have, growing up, I had two brothers.
Uh-huh.
I was one of 3 brothers, basically. It was me, David, my little brother Liam, who wasn't very little, and the youngest at that time, who was named Jesse.
Mhm.
So David, Liam, Jesse. For as long as I knew, my brother Liam, apparently according to my mom, he was named after Liam Nielsen, because my dad really liked Liam Nielsen, I guess. I guess Jesse was just biblical. They're like, yeah, it's biblical. Let's throw it in. I think it was my name too. It's like, oh, we like David. He's a cool guy. For the
Cool.
most part.
Cool. But so they
Um,
didn't give you traditional names.
Congolese names.
Yeah,
Well,
Congolese. I love the way
the
you speak.
politics of names in Africa are complex. I think
Oh.
how it worked in Congo was that you had it was like people didn't want to name people traditional names, honestly, because Mobutu, who was the dictator at the time, kind of forced people to. So my dad and all my dad's siblings have traditional names,
Yes.
and then by the time my dad's generation comes around, it's like, we're forced to have traditional names, and now we want to have
We're not going to do
European
that to our
either
children.
either European names. My cousin's name's Ariel, or they would have like biblical names. My name's
Okay.
David, or some of them would have like a traditional name. One of my cousins' name is Moshe, Shalom, stuff like that.
Okay.
Ifraka, stuff like that.
Raka.
Yeah,
Oh, beautiful. Oh my God. Okay.
I mess up her name all the time. It's like that's not my
Ifraka.
name. It's like I'm pretty sure I got it right. So hence
Yes.
I'm David, right?
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Very popular
yes.
name in Congo.
So you decided that you wanted to go and live with your father.
Yeah, me and my
What about your
brothers.
brothers?
They came with. We were a package
Oh.
deal. I think that's how it worked.
How did your mother feel?
She wasn't feeling great about it. I can tell you that. Very much sad about the whole situation. Honestly, it's a very complex thing.
Yes. 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 I can imagine.
I guess the politics of it were like, she had felt that, I guess I was conspiring against her, and she felt a certain type of way about, why would you want to live with your dad? And, I felt like it was about, it was around the time where I'm like, well, I like it here better than over there. And my brothers at the time agreed with me. And so we had, we moved to, and at that time he was living in Kalamazoo, or really it was Portage, but Kalamazoo, Michigan. By the time he had moved in with him, he was living in Kalamazoo, Michigan, off of like Drake Road. And so we had moved. I moved with my dad. It was like Christmas break. So it was like, I left. You know, I said my goodbyes to everyone. Christmas break happens. I'm in Kalamazoo, Michigan. It's like snowing like crazy. That summer, that I think it was like a blizzard. Like it was a really bad snow. So I go from Georgia, where it's like basically doesn't snow, to
Yes.
like all the snow.
Oh my
I don't know. I don't know
goodness.
how to
What
act.
was that experience like? Were you prepared? Did they have to go out and buy you snow boots?
They had to go out and buy me some stuff. They had some stuff from
Uh-huh.
like when I was visit.
Okay.
And it was almost like I remembered like memories that was like, cause Boise snows a lot too.
Okay.
So, my grandma liked to ski. So like I remember
Your grandmother liked to ski.
she liked to ski, and then she would bring me with her. And so I remember being in like the big ski stuff and like I'm like, this little guy.
I'd never
waddling.
even thought about skiing
Yeah, she did.
as a child.
She did.
And
did
your
different.
grandmother is into skiing.
She did not
That
like
is
stereotypes.
What? She did not like stereotypes.
She did not like
She is
stereotypes.
a fabulous.
She was
Now,
breaking
is
all
she
of it.
still alive?
No, she died when I was young.
Oh,
She
okay,
died when I was young.
okay.
But she lived life on her own terms,
I love it.
as she wished, I guess. Which was
Where
always
did
great.
they get this spirit from?
I don't know. I mean, I think a part of it is that she's coming from a black tradition
Yes.
of resistance and protest. She marches. I mean, she goes on to march with. I guess the March on Wall Street. She marches with Dr. King.
Yes.
Just like everyone else, I guess.
The March on Washington, perhaps? Or just one of those
It was one of them.
marches? Yeah.
It was one of them.
Yeah.
She was really serious about activism and changing, your life through education.
Yeah.
She was very big on that. And
Where did we lose that? It almost brings me to
Where
tears.
did we
My
lose
mother,
it?
my
I
mother
don't
was
know.
so big on education. How
know.
dare you bring home anything less than an
Yeah.
A or B? How dare you? And now it's like
Yeah.
there's no respect for education. What happened?
I think, sometimes I wonder, is it that we got away from education, or did education get away from us?
Oh,
I
we
think
got away from education, or did education get away from
it got
us?
got so much more expensive.
Basic education, though.
Ba-
Basic education, 1st through 12th, free.
Even that. I think, I look at things like charter schools, private schools, and how like more and more the emphasis is that get your kid out of like public school and put them
That started when
somewhere
I
else.
was teaching in Chicago. That
Mhm.
movement
Yeah.
was a backlash to integration,
Yeah.
a serious backlash
Mhm.
to integration.
Mhm.
And public schools, I went to a public school, and they were wonderful,
Mhm.
and they can still be wonderful. But
I think so.
we're not gonna. It's the teachers.
Well,
It's the
It's
people
the
who are
teachers.
in that classroom, like we talked about.
True.
Your experience had that principal said, I see you,
We're gonna do something.
we're going to do something. One
Mhm.
person,
One.
we're going to do something.
I don't know if it was also, no child left behind was passed. I don't know all the details of that, but like there was a lot of things that were happening. Bush was president.
I was
I don't know, Gore
teaching,
becomes
I
president,
was
yeah,
in
different.
school, I was
Yeah.
teaching in schools during that time.
Mm.
We made exceptions all the time,
Wow.
all the time. Yes.
That's
Anyway,
true. That's true.
Anyway,
Well,
get back to your story.
I just think it's,
Because
black
education
kid in
is
the
so
South.
important.
I don't know.
Mhm,
I don't know
mhm.
if
Mhm.
my white principal is gonna stick her neck out. For me
Indeed.
at that time.
Indeed.
So that happens, and so we move up. This is around midway through 7th grade,
Mhm.
and I go up and everything changes. I have to restart everything again, but like pretty optimistic. I think though what was so interesting about going from the South, because I'd lived there so long at that point, to the Midwest, is that I don't think at the time I realized how different it was. You have an idea of the North when you live in the South, because we're down. There's always this little bit of shame when it comes to like civil rights. It's like, oh, It was in my state we did this to King, or in my state we did, you know, X, Y, and Z. And I remember feeling that little bit of like, wow, it must be different up north. You know, they must have something different that they're doing. And I come up north and I'm like, oh wait, this is not what I expected.
No? In what way?
I felt like, in some ways, I felt limited. Weirdly enough, I felt like people had a certain idea of how black people were supposed to be.
In the north?
Yeah, Midwest, I guess, but
in the mid. Okay,
right. Everyone to me was up.
Okay,
north.
So in the South, was it just more overt, or
I think
more open, or you felt like it was more understanding?
I think there's a culture. There's a culture of like a genuine politeness, and also honesty. You would tell people like, I don't think that's right? I don't think that's okay what you're doing. Maybe you do it in a polite way. Maybe you do that maybe in a slightly disrespectful way. Something like, sweetheart, or bless your heart.
Bless your heart, but this ain't right.
I don't know. That boy ain't right. Bless his heart.
Okay. Okay.
Stuff like that. So like.
Yes.
People. I think how I took it was that I knew who didn't like me and I knew who liked me. It was pretty easy to tell.
Yes. Yes.
And you hung around people you liked, and you did not hang around people you didn't like.
Yes.
And so in that way, people were more honest. There's other ways they weren't honest, but I felt even, and I felt like that for everything. The way that the discrimination happened was, they felt it, they said it. I don't think you should be here. Right?
No bones. You understood where it was coming from, but here, up north, it was different.
It's
it was coded.
It's a little bit more covert.
Yeah.
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 I think racism here wears like a trench coat. It sneaks in. It's underground, but it's still there. It pops out every once in a while, and I think because of that, I see it in some of the people where like blackness was only these things. Blackness for some people, what I meant were like was poverty, was being ghetto, was these little things, and I'm not trying to disparage it, because there are black people who are poor, who live
indeed, but not every black person, and why cold people without even knowing them. Yes.
And we live on every continent. We speak all the languages, and it's so expansive, but you had to. There was that kind of limitation, and then on the other side, there's this thought in the Midwest, which I don't know if I don't want to get in trouble, because people they're serious about this, but
we speak on my show. Yes, say it.
But there's this sense in the Midwest that you should be, how do I say, you should be nice. A lot of people want to be nice, but they're not necessarily kind.
Oh.
I think that's the best way of putting it. They'll be friends with you. I met a lot of people who were friends with a person, but they didn't like them. But they wore the guise of friendship in order to kind of feel like they were, how do I put this? Not better, but like feel good about themselves. Like, this is how things are done. I don't confront people I don't like. I just let them move on, or make them feel like they want to leave. And then when someone questions it, you can have the excuse, well, I was nice to them. I was a kind person. All while you're talking behind this person's back, or you're saying your real feelings to your other friends.
Yes.
And then that leaves your friends to kind of, now they have to choose a side. All while that person doesn't know. And there's so much, I think there's too much that's left unsaid in the Midwest. I think there's too much that, like, problems build, not because not because we have serious issues, but because we're not actually speaking to each other.
We're not honest.
We're not honest
We're
with each
not
other.
being honest with ourselves, and a lot of the issues come from people not really being honest with themselves.
Yeah.
And you're not the only person who says that. I had another young
Mhm.
lady who was from, not Russia, but she was from, oh my God,
One of the, like, Balkans?
Uzbekistan, maybe one of the Balkan islands, but she said the same thing when she came over here. She just couldn't break the code.
It's
and it
difficult.
was like
It's difficult.
people had agendas,
Yeah.
and you could only see so much, but you
Mm.
could never get behind the mask that they were
Yeah.
wearing, and they were
They're opaque.
kind of patronizing.
Yeah.
And I think it's people not being comfortable with themselves and being very in their own little not to say that to use clan in a bad way,
Right.
but they're in their own little group,
Mm.
and this is how we do it in our own little group. And if you're not part of the group, then
You're not playing the game. And I think there's a lot of, I wouldn't say suspicion, but there's a lot of like concern when you don't play the game. I found like a lot of people, I remember hearing a lot of like, oh, David, like, you're great, but like, you're a little naive. And I was like, naive? And they're like, they felt I was naive largely because I wasn't playing the game. I didn't know there was a game to play. I was honest. I would tell people what I thought. I wasn't friends with people I didn't like.
this is so interesting, David. We're gonna have to do part 2.
Mm.
We must do a part 2 because I feel like we
Always.
barely scratched the surface.
There's too much. There's so much.
There's so much,
Yeah.
and you are so honest. You
try
got
my
some
best.
New York. You got a lot of New York in you.
Wow, yeah.
Yeah,
It's grandma. It's grandma and then my dad.
People from New York, they just don't play. The people that I've met,
Mm.
they just don't play those games.
Mm.
This is who I am. This is how we're going to interact.
Yeah.
This is it.
Yeah.
This is it.
Oh, for
But
sure.
not so. Oh
Mhm.
my God, I would go to, and that's a problem that I had in Chicago.
Oh,
You know,
the
people
honesty.
were so, and not just people from other ethnic groups, but
Mm.
black people.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't know what to do because I don't know the code.
Yeah.
And I don't think you want to tell me the code.
I think it's like sink or swim sometimes with that kind of stuff. Because you
It
either figure
is.
it out or they let you.
But what I learned to do is if the tide is going like this, I'm going to go like this.
Against.
And I'm going to get my own way. I'm
Mm.
going to just ignore this tide,
Yeah.
and I'm going to create a tide over here.
You have to.
Because I don't understand how to navigate this tide, so let me just make my own way over here. And that has really worked for me. But, oh my gosh, such a wonderful conversation. And we have not even gotten to where you are now.
Yeah.
How we met,
True.
working. You're an
Mhm.
intern. Are you still an intern?
No, I'm
for
not
the
interning
Arts
now.
Council. No?
My internship for the Arts Council of Kalamazoo, it ended September
Okay.
after the Mural Festival.
Okay.
So that was a lot of fun,
Yeah.
a good time.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a whole nother
David,
story.
you have to come back. I am going to look at my calendar because this is such an interesting conversation. And when I get people like you, I am so
Mhm.
inspired to have your story have greater reach.
Yeah.
People, it's an opportunity for people to grow. If people can't travel themselves and get to know people from other cultures, it's important that your story be not just on this platform, even though I love this platform, but that I just feel like it's incumbent upon me to provide another platform, especially for young people in Kalamazoo Public Schools who
Yeah.
are from other countries.
Mm.
They're trying to navigate,
It's tough.
and it is tough. I see it on their faces
Right.
whenever I'm around them, and there's no real venue.
I was born here, and sometimes it feels like speaking a different language to some people. So, I mean, I don't know. God bless them.
No,
Hopefully they do their best.
not just God bless them. We're going to do something,
We're gonna do
David.
something.
We're going to do something together. Thank you so much for tuning in. Once again, the clock on the wall says that's all, y'all. So I have to close down. But thank you so much for tuning in to All Stories Matter. And we will see you next time.